Jim is way too nervous.
Yeah, my knees are knocking already.
So today, tell us where we are, Jim.
Today we're so far off the grid the jurisdiction police won't even find us.
Never.
But we'll see them coming from a long ways away.
Yes. Yeah.
We're not in La Crosse County, we're not in Jackson County, we're not in Buffalo, we're not even in Pepin, we're not even in Wisconsin.
No.
We have crossed the river, brought in extra help. We've got Joe here today to help us out.
Welcome to Winona.
And we're in Winona, Minnesota, up in
That's
Garvin
right.
Heights.
And this is when I grew up in Gainesville, if I was going to go to the big city, this is where I came, was Winona.
There's a lot of people
yeah.
came to Winona. It was the big shopping mall at the time.
Yes.
I remember as kids, I says, you didn't travel far. But we came here to Winona. We're going to talk a little bit today about a couple of the early entrepreneurs, let's say, and how Winona got a little bit heads up on some of the other towns around here, the lumber industry and everything else. I said, how it got going. And I think the first person we should talk about is the man that donated the land we're standing on here, Herbert Garvin.
That's right, because we are in Garvin Heights.
You betcha.
And so where did it get that name? We're going to tell you.
Is it her or what? What is it? Herbert was born in 1862 in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. And I said, he always was kind of a go-getter from a little kid on. At the age of 15, he already had secured a job as a messenger for the Northwestern Railroad. So he quit school and took on full-time employment for the railroad. And because of his ambition and go-getter attitude, didn't take long, he became a clerk. He was also a telegraph operator, and finally he was a station operator. And he ended up being a train station operator here in Winona.
And he was very young when he got into these positions.
You betcha. But by 1899, I said he had 22 years of service in for the railroad, and he got an opportunity to do some more advancement, as in his opinion, I guess, in life, and he became a treasurer at Bay State Milling. Here in Winona, I said, we're right in the heart of the wheat industry, let's say at that time, and Bay State Milling was in Boston, Massachusetts, and it was run by Bernard Rothwell. And Bernard was interested in the hard wheat coming out of Minnesota, and he said we could make some good flour out of that. Winnebago is one of the flours that they made. They ground wheat, and they ground rye, and some barley, and some high fiber organic, let's say, wheat flour. And he got the chance in 1899 to buy out the Porter Mill. Porter Mill was established 1877, give or take, and he did good for about 20 years. Then Lemuel Porter ended up having little financial difficulties, and they had to file bankruptcy. So that's how Bay State got their foot in the door. Garvin got his foot in the door being treasurer for the company.
Okay.
And as soon as he got in there, it didn't take long. He was promoted already by 1921. He was a director, he was a plant manager, and he was also a secretary for the company. Thereafter, soon he became vice president, and he remained vice president for Bay State Milling until his passing in 1942.
And it still is Bay State.
It's still Bay State Milling.
Okay.
It's right over there. You can see that big white building over there.
Yes.
It still is Bay State Milling.
Okay.
So I said, while he was here, he lived down on the corner of 6th Street in Huff. He built his own house where he passed away down there. And above here was the Winona Teachers College.
Yeah, it was what back then they called the normal school.
Winona Normal School. And the kids used to always come, the students would always come up over here to what was now Garvin Heights, but there was a park. They wanted to use it kind of like. Herbert got a hold of this land, 10 acres, and he allowed the city students to use it as a park. In 1922, he donated it to the Winona College. The normal school became the Winona State College. So then in another one of his hobbies or groups that he joined, followed along, was the Farm Bureau. He was always interested in 4-H. He was interested in road transportation and interested in parks. And he helped set up, because of his connections with the railroad and with Bay State Milling here, he helped lay out a lot of the county trunk system, the road systems in southeast Minnesota. Then he also had turned around and in 1925, I believe it was. He got a hold of some 27 acres of land up here by Stockton, Minnesota, which the Farm Bureau was always using for their annual picnics and meetings.
Oh, sure. That's
The arches.
up this
The
way, right?
arches.
Yes. Okay.
And at one time, there was 5,000 people showed up for that meeting. So, I mean, there were a lot of people came to the Farm Bureau meeting.
Wow. Yeah.
Herbert got a deed to that land, and he deeded it to Winona County. So that's how I said we ended up with Garvin Heights. We ended up with the arches over here. I know Joe knows a little bit about the arches.
Yeah.
Why did they call it the arches?
Well, I can tell you a little bit about that. When Winona was founded, they knew that there was a lot of wheat growing off, and it needed to come to Winona to become flour. There was a lot of lumber that needed to be sent out to, the prairie to build farms and all of that. But most of all, they needed a railroad. The railroad came through in 1862. It started right down there on the levee. And if you've ever driven Highway 14, between, say, Winona and Lewiston, it's pretty steep. We have this thing called Stockton Hill. In 1862, the railroad had to get up that hill using 1862 technology. There was a long wooden 900-foot trestle that was basically connecting the line from Stockton to Lewiston. It was like up at least 50 feet in the air, and it was made of wood, exposed to the elements, rickety, with all of the best 1862 technology they could have.
Mm-hmm.
In 1880, the Chicago and Northwestern Railroad decided this is not going to do. They filled in the trestle with gravel and rock that they crushed on a quarry nearby. They set up a quarry, a little train track to bring rubble and stone up to be either dumped into the fill of the trestle or to be dressed as stone for the viaduct with the two arches.
Oh, okay.
That was all built between 1880 and 1883 by the Chicago and Northwestern Railroad. And it was almost immediately known as the Arches.
Okay.
Whoever owned it, it's a great place, obviously, to visit. My parents are from Winona. My mother grew up across the street from St. Stan's Church, right over there. Mm-hmm. And that's where God lived. I believed so too when I was a kid. Mom's favorite place in the world was Farmers Park. It was just like its own little world. And I said, Mom, were you the only one who... Every kid in Winona believed the same thing. My family still has gatherings when we get together. We got to hit
Arches at the Farmers Community Park.
And this is something that, basically happened. A thing that basically happened because there was this kid named Herbert Garvin who got a job on the railroad.
Yeah, right. Well, he was very generous then, wasn't he?
And his own personal life was actually kind of sad. They had a son who kind of became estranged and all of that. There's a lot of human interest story there too.
Well, I said, besides being up here in Garvin Point, Winona also has another landmark a little ways down the line here. And I know the river navigation used it for quite a while. And that's Sugarloaf over here.
Otherwise known as Wapashaw's Cap.
There you go.
Oh, okay. I never heard that one.
Oh my goodness. When 1852, when the white people are all starting to crawl over this island, it wasn't called Winona, it wasn't called Montezuma, it was called Wapashaw's Prairie.
Who called it Montezuma?
Orrin Smith, the guy who kind of discovered Winona.
Oh, okay.
Thank God. No, we just barely escaped the city being named Montezuma, Minnesota.
Okay.
No, I'm not even going to go there.
I know Sugarloaf, I said, is probably almost as high as Garvin Point or Garvin Park here.
I would say about the same. And the name Sugarloaf comes from, as I know you know, is just like it looked like, well, to some people it looked like a giant loaf of sugar that you would whittle away at. To some people it looked like a boob. And to some people it looked like a hat that Chief Wapashaw I, I believe, received from the British because he sided with the British in the War of 1812. All these various names for this, but yeah, it was known as Wapashaw's Cap. This was Wapashaw's Prairie, and they were in negotiations about whether this was going to be Winona, Wapashaw, or Montezuma.
I know rumor said that the other half of Sugarloaf is up at Red Wing.
And, you know, I drove by Barn Bluff not too long ago, and I put two and two together, and it was just like, yeah.
It's coincidence.
They were, shall we say, twins?
There you go. That's probably why it's come reference of some other names.
Sugarloaf is not a natural thing. It was quarried. Right?
It was quarried by a gentleman by the name of John O'Dea, O-D-E-A, who quarried Sugarloaf to make, he quarried limestone to make sidewalks and also for trim on all the brick buildings. And his sidewalks were still in place, in our
lifetime. Yeah.
I talked to people,
They remember the sidewalk. Well, then Winona had a great fire, I think, in 1860.
It was the 4th of July, 1862. And, there wasn't really a lot to celebrate on the 4th of July. There was a Civil War going on and all of that. And Winona threw a party for everybody up and down the river. It was a great party. Everybody, the fire department from La Crosse came up to celebrate with the Winona firemen. It was a great time. Everybody went to bed. Everybody got on their steamboats and went back to Prairie du Chien and St. Paul. And everybody's sleeping off at about 2 a.m. Ding, 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 ding. 4 blocks of downtown burned down.
Oh, well, I was going to say, not the whole town. That might have been most of the town.
And they said it was actually a good thing in the long run because while the city lost about $50 million in current money, it also burned down all the crappy old buildings that they were going to get around to replacing someday. Well, now you have to borrow money and build them out of brick. And that's how Winona wound up with a brick downtown eventually. So there was a fire, but it really wasn't a completely and totally bad thing.
Yeah, they passed regulations that all sidewalks would have to be made out of stone. Which also took rock out of the quarries around here.
Yeah.
And I know then I said the river captains used to use Sugarloaf as a landmark.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like a 12-mile point up at Elma. Jasper Wild's house right up in the corner over here across the river.
Or like Twin Bluffs, right?
Yes, they used it. So I said when the quarrying started, this 85-foot pinnacle that's left up there, there was quite a few people come and said, hey, we want to save what's left of Sugarloaf.
Yeah, or they were going to quarry that down too. Huh?
Well, yeah, I still find it hard to believe. I mean, and I know it's a fact. People from Winona do climb up on the thing. I've lived here for 5 years. I haven't done it.
I wouldn't
have done it 50 years ago either, but I mean, people were up there working and, that was their job to climb up on that thing and knock pieces off of it to make sidewalks.
Yeah.
And then I said we had the breweries that set up
below there. There's a brewery
there.
down there, right?
And I said the building is still there now. Which one of the brewmasters?
There were 2 breweries down there. And we're getting kind of a theme here. One of them was Boob's Brewery, and the other one was the Shellhaus Brewery. The Boob's Brewery survived until the 1960s. The Shellhaus went out of business as a result of Prohibition. But they needed 2, Winona had 2 breweries under Sugarloaf, and another brewery, the Park Brewery, downtown by Bay State Milling. And so, Winona was a pretty thirsty town.
Yeah.
But also, I would say that the area under Sugarloaf is kind of like Winona's version of Bluff Siding, the place where people go to have fun.
Yeah.
And, where the gambling is, where the sleazy company is, the kind of places you don't necessarily brag about going. One of those places was down there. The Black Horse is down there in Homer.
Yeah.
And there was also the Hot Fish Shop, which wasn't sleazy, but it was out there. It was on the other side of the swamp. It's not a part of the island. And also Blanche Hunter's Win TP cabins, which you could rent by the month, you could rent them by the week, you could rent them by the day, you could rent them by the hour, you could rent them by the half hour, if you know what I mean. It was just a complete fun zone out
Okay.
there.
Well, I know there were big storage caves inside of Sugarloaf.
Well-
I said I believe them are all closed off now.
Well,
but
yeah,
cool
you
beer because there was no refrigeration.
Oh yeah, and they were, you would go to buy a lot of people would buy their beer in something called a picnic. You buy,
it was like a big bottle, wasn't it?
it was exactly a big bottle.
Yeah.
And you would take the picnic and you would go over to your tavern and get it filled with Boob's beer and then bring it back.
Yeah, yeah. So I said the early days. I says there was trouble with water a lot of times.
Well, sure.
Because I says people didn't know about bacteria and things like that, so they were not overly concerned about sewer runoff compared to their drinking water. They weren't thinking sometimes clearly. So I
Right,
said the
you know.
beer industry kind of got going because you could drink beer and not get sick.
Right.
It had been
Yeah,
pasteurized.
It was healthier than drinking
yes,
water.
people didn't
Well,
realize it.
and that was the thing is that, Boob's beer just could not compete with the mega breweries
Yeah,
and all of that.
Even if the malt factory is right down here, I said they make the malt right here in Winona.
Had all the ingredients, it just didn't work.
And another great entrepreneur, I said, that came out of Winona was a man named John Latch.
And he has a direct correlation to Trempealeau County.
You betcha.
Yeah.
John's dad also named John Latch, John A being the son. But John Latch Sr., not senior because of the A, was born in Switzerland, 1832. He came to the United States in 1854. And he bought a farm just north of Dodge, Dodge, Wisconsin. We did a video about Dodge. And
Yeah.
John bought a farm there in 1856. And he worked that farm, he says, doing well until the Civil War come out. They called for volunteers, and he volunteered in the Civil War, and he was part of Sherman's March to the Sea. So he was on the front lines, but he survived the war very well, and went back to the farm, where young John A. had been born in 1860. And the dad was working there, and he cut his foot really bad on a walking plow, breaking
So,
some land.
yeah, other people thought he got hurt in the war, but it wasn't
No.
a farming accident.
And as a result of that, he got so banged up that he could not continually keep farming.
And the farm was up in what is today,
Latch Valley.
and that's Double J that goes up there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I said, anyhow, I says, he came to Winona and he got a grocery business going with another man named Precy. And it was Precy and Latch Grocery. And then Precy retired 1892, and then it became Latch and Sons. And John had saved up a few dollars, and young John A. was in the business with Dad. Dad passed away in 1909. Young John got in, and John went on the river with a canoe. He did not own a car. He lived a real meager life. You would have thought the guy does not have a whole lot of money in his pocket. But he enjoyed the scenery, and he said when he was out on the river one time, he pulled on an island, doing a little camping. Landowner come and told him, well, you got to get off of here. I own this. Well, John thought, well, the young students in town, the young kids, he says, they got no place to go. They
Yeah.
hunt, fish, trap, activities for the outdoor recreation we got to have. Some kind of park. So he started buying land. They estimated at one time John more or less owned up to 7,000 acres along the river up here,
On both sides?
picking up land.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And his generosity with his investment and stuff, I said, is almost more than you can describe. And I think you've got a list that you've compiled of some of the things
Yes.
that John has donated and contributed to Wisconsin and Minnesota.
Right. And I guess he had been mayor here for a while.
Yes.
1907, it
Yep.
said.
And he actually, another piece of Winona history is we have something called the hog line here in Winona, which
Okay.
could be explained any number of different ways. But in 1907, John Latch passed as mayor, signed as mayor, an ordinance saying where in Winona you could keep swine
Oh,
and
well,
where you could
important.
not. It was important because it was a really big issue, and it took somebody, a mayor. Lots of jokers got elected mayor in this town. John Latch was somebody.
Yeah, and then he donated $10,000 for a bathhouse, and that was
Right across the river
Yeah,
where that
right
sandbar
across
is
the
there
river.
now. Yeah, there was
Right,
the east
yeah.
side and then the west side, yeah.
And he also contributed to the beach dredging on the west side, and he helped pay for the moving of the bathhouse to the new location.
Yeah, they said the water got
Yeah.
kind of slow and sluggish and
Yeah.
poor on the east side, so when the new bathhouse was, they moved it over to here, and John was instrumental in getting that done.
Now, he also donated the land for Perot State Park in Trempealeau.
Thank you.
Yes. For Merrick State Park,
Another
which
one,
is
Trempealeau County, Buffalo
that's
County. Yes.
Buffalo County. Idlewild Island Park, I'm not sure where
Yeah,
that
it's
is.
north here, I believe.
Oh, okay. And then there was the John A. Latch State Park.
Yeah, that's right up north here again.
Okay. And like you said, he had 7,000 acres along the Mississippi and a number of these islands around the city of Winona. So he also donated Bluffside Park
Okay.
and Westfield Golf Course
Oh, we know where that is. Okay.
and Athletic Park.
That East End, yeah.
And then there was, East End Baseball Park and Athletic Field.
Know that. That's iconic.
20 blocks of undeveloped parkland on the east end of the city, which is
Yeah, we on the business corner down there.
quite a bit. And then, I don't, maybe I'm not pronouncing this right, Agaming Park?
Agaming, I guess.
Agaming Park? And where was that?
That's my guess. Oh, it's a name for the area around the island.
Oh, okay.
It's a name that is the corporate name for that area. There is Agaming Park.
And then there's Latch Island, and that's what, over there?
That's it right there. You're
Cross
looking,
corner.
you're
On
looking
the
right
east
at
side? Yeah, okay. And also many business buildings were given to the city of Winona. He was a very generous guy, and he established the Latch Memorial Board to administer all his donations. And they set up a tree nursery, which provided thousands of trees for the city. And his holdings allowed 10,000 cords of wood to be cut during the Depression, and they let that go for the help the poor
Yeah.
of the city, which is amazing.
When John passed away in 42, he left about $500,000 here to the city. And he had workers from the plant would be administrating what was left of his trust. He gave about 80% of that money to the Winona Hospital. 10% of it he gave to Woodlawn Cemetery right at the foot of the hill
Yeah.
down here. And then there was a fund called Marge Simpson. And I said it was a charity to help the poor here, run by the city. He gave about 5% of that of his money to there. The rest of the money is left in estate. These 20 blocks that he had donated to the city, he paid the taxes on them. They were about $7,000 a year at that time. It came out of his estate, they were paying it. And the Latch building stood here until around 1975 when a developer was more interested in the land and they could get $60,000, $70,000 worth of taxes versus what they were getting, and the buildings were getting old, not being rented out. So the Latch blocks ended up being demolished. I believe all we have left is Latch and Son down on 2nd Street, which was the original Latch store.
and is beautifully maintained.
Yeah.
They paint it every single repaint it every single year, because to get it just the right color, they have to buy this paint that fades. But they did it right. It's a real monument to the Latch family.
The entrepreneurs here, I said, we still have a few locals that do donate stuff to the city. And I said, like most of them, I said, Mr. Garvin and Mr. Latch both said, don't put my name on anything. But the people said they have to be recognized for the contributions to the city for future generations. But I said, here we look over Winona. If you come up to Garvin Heights, it's great for the family. It's a great place to travel.
Doesn't cost anything.
Doesn't cost nothing. The view is spectacular.
Yes.
There are informational signs. We cannot cover them all. I said there's talk about the early logging industry. There's the Winona Historical Society has information. You can look up their website. You can get some information from them. And I think we're going to kind of wind up a little bit here for this morning because we're going to go for lunch. And Nancy and I got one more stop on this video before she's going to be over.
And I just want to say, if you get up here and you look up the river, we think you can see Lake Pepin from here, way up there.
That's
to
what
the
the old
northwest.
timers claim. I don't know,
Yeah.
our eyes aren't that good, not putting my glasses on to see. Claim you can see Trempealeau Mountain if you look the other way.
I'm
but
sure you can. Yeah.
you got to remember, history is a pack of lies agreed upon. So
That's
we
right.
And
That's
we're doing our part.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
But I said the facts we had today, most of them are what we could say in stone. So we can say it's pretty much our fact. But
And it's a good way. We just want to remember these incredibly generous men that contributed so much.
And ladies, there were misses
Oh,
involved
yeah.
in some. John wasn't married, but
And these were people who started out basically with doodly squat. You know, John Latch's dad, John Latch the first, he stepped on his plow and had to move to Winona. What happened if he didn't step on his plow?
yeah, it's just simple things.
What happens if, the station agent in Fond du Lac didn't hire young Herbie Garvin to come and,
To come up here.
and be a messenger boy?
Yeah.
But I said they all started someplace with empty pockets,
Yeah.
and they worked and they improved themselves. And there's a chance in America you stand a chance.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Follow the laws, do your thing, and I said you can hold your own.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right. Now we are across the Mississippi.
We're safe.
We're back in Wisconsin. And what are we looking at here?
Well, we're kind of talking about things that are in stone. And right here I said Wisconsin, they've always called this kind of western Wisconsin Indian head country.
Right.
And if you ever look at the map of Wisconsin, it does have a profile here, basically of someone's face. And some people have put a bonnet on it or some kind of a
Yeah.
headdress to make it look like an Indian.
But they're saying that they have a big nose.
The thing is, maybe it's got a big nose. I'm not sure which
Yeah.
town's on the end of this nose. But I said here in western Wisconsin, we're maybe about a mile, a little bit more out of Fountain City, a few miles north of Winona here
Yeah, we're
on 35
We're south of Fountain City.
and north of Winona.
Yeah.
And there's a cliff face there right behind us that I guess when you kind of look at it, it does have a profile that
Yeah.
certainly does have Native American or some type of reference here maybe to an individual.
It's got the eyeball and the nose and then
Early
below that,
Native Americans claimed that this was one of their overlooks here, was looked over their dead laid in the valleys below. I guess you could say any kind of a culture would probably depict this as a face. There was another face in New Hampshire. It was called the Old Man.
Right, yeah.
But time and erosion have taken that, and the Old Man is no more. He is gone.
Wow.
So I said, if you're ever driving 35, heading up over here to Fountain City, to Alma, the Great River Road, little ways above Dam 5A on the right, keep an eye out for this guy keeping an eye on us. There's a lot of outcroppings in western Wisconsin and eastern Minnesota. I said, look at some of these things and see what you can see. I said, it takes a little imagination sometimes. This one I think is fairly obvious.
Yeah, I think this is pretty easy. You really can.
But
At least
some
I
people,
can see the face.
yeah, some people look at a cloud and they can see a puppy right away,
Yeah.
and I just see a storm coming. So it makes no difference. But enjoy it outdoors. Get out there. Look at some of the parks that John Latch and Garvin have put out there. Get out and visit them. See what's going on. Watch out for traffic because there's always cars out here. And take the kids out and enjoy yourself. Don't just sit around the house. Get out and enjoy yourself.
And if you go up this road far enough, you'll be at Nelson for ice cream.
Just for ice cream, we're kind of in that direction right now, Nancy.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably have to go up there. Jurisdiction police will let us go as long as we use the word Trempealeau County
And let us back in again, too. That's the
in
other
our
thing.
video, so we're okay. So
Okay.
I think with that, we'll probably wind this one up to set in stone.